It's another edition of Time About the Movies, and today we're taking a look at the two movies of July 15th, 2005. Two significant movies, not just in terms of their legacy afterwards, but something that needs to be kept in mind is that around this time, the box office in general was down from the year before. And usually that's not really a big deal, but for some reason in 2005, it was seen as a very big deal that most of the weekends before this weren't living up to surpassing what had been done the previous year before. And, there was a lot of build-up leading into the week before this when Fantastic Four nearly came close to surpassing the previous year's record in terms of the top 10 box office in general. But this was the weekend where that streak finally came to an end. And this was a weekend where the two movies we're going to be talking about here actually did a whole lot better than the movies that came out the year before. But then again, you've got two movies that had a lot of marketing behind them that were the perfect programming for. You got a big movie for the kids, you got a big movie for the adults. It's just going to work out perfectly. And let's start with the biggest new release of the two movies, and that is, of course, Tim Burton's version of the classic story Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. I mean, this is just straightforward, the same story as Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, except it's literally based off the book that's literally called Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, unlike that movie, which was Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. But, simple premise, pretty much the same as the first movie. Charlie is the main focus of the storyline, played by Freddie Highmore, as he wins a contest along with four other children, and is led by Willy Wonka, played by Johnny Depp, on a tour of his chocolate factory. Of course, Johnny Depp and Freddie Highmore did the far superior Finding Neverland the year before, and not to say that this movie is bad by any means necessary, but this is a movie that is definitely, it's a very odd film, to say the least. It's a movie that, I like it. I've talked about it before, that Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory is one of my favorite movies of all time, so I'm going into this with a little bit of a hesitation when I first saw it. I'm just kind of like, okay, what's the end result of this going to be? And when I came out of it, I liked it. Over time, I've still continued to like it. This movie had one of those production hells that this thing was first began production back in 1991. They had all these different directors attached to it. I've got the list right here. Just a random assortment of names, not just for the director, but the star itself. Like, the directors: Gary Ross, Rob Minkoff, Tom Shadyac, Martin Scorsese. Can you imagine what a Martin Scorsese Willy Wonka movie would look like? But, of course, Tim Burton eventually came on board, but if you thought the directors were weird enough, the names that they went to, they pretty much went to every single actor in Hollywood, because kind of like with how Gene Wilder got the cast in the original film. But this time around, here's the list of names that I have here. And I've got the list right here again. Bill Murray, Christopher Walken, Steve Martin, Robin Williams, Nicolas Cage, Jim Carrey, Michael Keaton, Robert De Niro, Brad Pitt, Will Smith, Mike Myers, Ben Stiller, Leslie Nielsen, John Cleese, Eric Idle, Michael Palin, Patrick Stewart, Adam Sandler, Dustin Hoffman, Marilyn Manson. Like, I mean, they really went with everybody in Hollywood pretty much. Honestly, Leslie Nielsen probably would have been a great choice for Wonka, more than I think about it. And there would have been some good choices in there. Bill Murray, Robin Williams, Jim Carrey, Michael Keaton, Patrick Stewart, I think could have been good choices. But then there was those ones that's just like Christopher Walken, Nicolas Cage, Robert De Niro, Will Smith, Mike Myers, John Cleese, Eric Idle, Michael Palin, Marilyn frickin' Manson. Somebody actually thought that this would work if Marilyn Manson, even Dwayne Johnson was considered for Willy Wonka at that point. But let me throw in some other names too. I mean, I'm pretty sure they literally went to everybody in Hollywood around the time. Like, I'm pretty sure that Billy Bob Thornton, he had some movies out there. Ewan McGregor probably was mentioned. Chris Rock, why not? Eddie Murphy. I mean, the list could go on and on. I'm trying to remember names in 2005. Martin Lawrence, Ashton Kutcher, Bernie Mac, Sean Penn, Will Ferrell. I mean, really, they went to a number of different names for this movie in general, but they chose Johnny Depp. And you know what? Performance-wise, he actually did a pretty good job distancing himself from, Willy Wonka. It's not a bad performance. I mean, it certainly was a lot better than some of the bad movies that Depp has been attached to with Tim Burton since then. And, even Depp said that Gene Wilder's characterization of Willy Wonka stood out as a unique portrayal, so he at least knew he couldn't top what Wilder had done. I still don't know why the hell Tim Burton decided to turn Willy Wonka into Michael Jackson. Like, that's one of those things where it's just like, what the hell were you thinking, Tim Burton? Like, I know you work well with Johnny Depp. I know that you and him will pretty much agree to anything that you want to do together. I mean, like, but this is just taken it to an extreme level where it's just like, somebody should have looked at this and gone like, okay, we're really stretching the boundaries of craziness here. But as far as but I actually like it. Here's the thing: the weird thing about this movie is that as much as I love the original Willy Wonka, there's a couple things I like about the newer version, and it's Freddie Highmore. I really like him as Charlie Bucket a little bit more than I do with Peter Ostrom, who I thought was great in the original. But I like what I like about Freddie Highmore's performance is that he's optimistic, but he's not as super optimistic as the original. He knows that he has choices in life. I like a little scene that they throw in here where he tells his family that he's going to sell the golden ticket he found to somebody else because they offered him $500 for it. And he wasn't doing it to be selfish or blow it on himself. He wanted to do it to help his struggling family, especially his father, who had just gotten fired from his job as a toothpaste cap holder. Like, not a toothpaste holder itself, a toothpaste cap like a guy who puts together toothpaste caps on the thing. Things like, it's a weird thing, but it's kind of funny, and I also like that he was more than about making sure his family was covered than making himself happy. I mean, that's what I like about the ending, too, which is a radically different ending compared to the original film. In the original film, of course, Charlie gets the factory and everyone lives happily ever after. And in the new version, it's not that simple, though. Charlie shows that he's unselfish, like he doesn't want to leave his family behind, and he cares more about that than whatever Willy Wonka wants to give him. And we find out about the backstory between him and Willy Wonka and his father, which is done pretty well for the most part in general. So there are a lot of good things I like about the remake in general. I like that Tim Burton's style is all over the movie. The snow is, when it's snowy in there, I think that's cool. I just love snow. I love it when it snows out in December and November, December. The winter times, and then, like, there's just something so calming and cool about the snow and this snow. It's just, when you see it in this movie, and you're watching it for the first time in the middle of the summer, it's just like, it's just pitch perfect. It's just pitch perfect gold. And the visual effects are pretty good sometimes. They do have the benefit of using CG, so they can make people like the Oompa Loompas come more to life with the technological advancements of today. But again, like with the original does hold up better because they were using many practical effects and didn't have the advantages of using computer graphics back then, and which made that film more of a risky gamble. While this one's just kind of like okay, I mean, we can work with this because we live in such a technologically advanced time. We can make this work. Like, my overall thoughts on the movie is that it's okay. It's nothing compared to the original. Johnny Depp's Willy Wonka works overall, but I think his Michael Jackson look to him really kind of takes you out of the film right from the get-go. The introduction of the kids is very much way too truncated down. I mean, it took the original film like about almost half an hour to introduce all the other kid characters that are going to be in the chocolate factory with Charlie. Meanwhile, in this movie, they just cut it down to half that time, and it's not as engaging or as exciting in general. It's also very mean-spirited too, and it does end on a note where it is. I like the risk they took with it. I think it is very well done overall. The overall story, I think, tries a little bit too hard. There are definitely a lot of points where you can tell that they're spending way too much time on several points of the storyline, such as the backstory of Willy Wonka, which, again, as much as I don't like how truncated down the kids are introduced, I do like that they give them credit. I give them credit for speeding up those backstories of the kids because, let's be honest, we really already know these kids already. But the thing that I actually got to give them credit for, which I think is a little bit of a cop out, but I kind of laughed a little bit, was what actually happened to the kids afterwards. Like, I mean, it's one of the downfalls of this movie because the brilliance of the first film is that you never saw what happened to the kids in the original, so it's left to your imagination what kind of hell they went to. But because It's more because we live in such a PC world. We have to turn everything down for the kiddies, and we can't be dark. But we have to dumb it down for them, and they don't make it. It doesn't mean anything. Like what we see happen to the kids here. Like I like some of the ideas they have, but at the same time, I just love the idea that these kids in the original were just being bad, and they paid the consequences and were never heard from again. And it's just a dark concept in general, which I think is kind of fun. But, I mean, even in that movie, had the great tunnel scene. This one has a tunnel scene that is so bland and so generic, too. Like, I give them credit for trying to do some different things with it, but most of the time, it just doesn't really work in the overall scheme of things with the entire film. One of the very positive things I'll give the movie credit for is the great music by Danny Elfman, but then again, it's not hard to do. The set designs overall are very good. It's a very flawed remake. And it's certainly not one of Burton's worst movies, but it's definitely in that category of stuff like, Dumbo or Alice in Wonderland, where there are brief flashes of promise here and there, but the overall finished product is just mostly a mixed bag in general. And, I would definitely say this is the better of those three films I mentioned, but nothing will ever top the original film. The original was just a classic on so many levels, and this is a solidly made remake, but definitely one that I wouldn't say is up anywhere near close to the original film. I certainly enjoy it more than Wonka, which I know is blasphemy from me, but I'm sorry, Wonka was not a good movie to me. So, alright, so I've taken about 10 minutes talking about Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Let's take a look at the other big new release of the weekend. That's Owen Wilson and Vince Vaughn in Wedding Crashers. So before we get into anything else, I just gotta say, Isla Fisher in this movie she's the big breakout star of the film. I mean, she is absolutely hilarious in this movie, and it just made me appreciate her more when I saw her in this movie for the first time. And she's gone on to have a solidly put together film career in general. A couple misses and hits here and there, but I really liked her as an actress ever since I saw her in this movie. I mean, she really is a ton of fun in this movie. In fact, everybody in this movie is very good. Kind of like with Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, I think the trailer kind of explains it for you. You have two divorce mediators, played by Owen Wilson and Vince Vaughn, who crash weddings and attempt to meet and seduce women. And they go to this one wedding where they go to see the wedding of the eldest daughter of the U.S. Secretary of Treasury, played by Christopher Walken. And he's got these two daughters, played by Rachel McAdams and Isla Fisher, and Rachel McAdams is dating this guy, played by Bradley Cooper, pre-Hangover. And you have Jane Seymour in there as his wife, and it just leads to hilarity and hijinks overall. This was a major hit at the time. It was the first R-rated comedy to make $200 million at the box office, which was unheard of back then. And it was actually the film that led to that was credited for helping to revive the popularity of adult-oriented R-rated comedies. And following in the month ahead, we'll have The 40-Year-Old Virgin, which would be another step in the right direction there. This is a really good movie. It's a really fun film in general. It does have that massive third act breakup scene that it takes up way too much of the plot, and it just goes on forever and ever. And easily you could have taken that out, thrown that away, and you would have had a really damn good movie that would have been one of the greatest comedies ever. But as it is, it's a really good movie. Vince Vaughn and Owen Wilson are very funny. Christopher Walken and Jane Seymour have some great moments in here. Bradley Cooper is a great little antagonist in here. Rachel McAdams and as I said, Isla Fisher, they're great in this movie. Rachel McAdams, I think, is really good. It's branching out from not just being the girl from Mean Girls in The Notebook, like really showing that this year she is going to take over the world, because she had 3 dynamite performances this year. This, Red Eye, and The Family Stone. We'll get to the other 2 movies as the year continues, but another great performance by her in this movie, and this is just a really fun guys comedy. Like this is a comedy that is strictly made to be raunchy, and something that is severely missing in the world right now, because, like I said before with Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, we kind of live in a PC world where these type of comedies are becoming more lesser than they were back in the day. They have tried to bring it back a little bit with more recent films, like we just had My Old Ass with Aubrey Plaza that came out recently. Last year we had the big hit No Hard Feelings, and then that also we had Bottoms come out. So I feel like we're slowly but surely coming back to that, but This was credited for helping to revive the trend of the R-rated raunchy comedies, and this and the 40-Year-Old Virgin would help to really set the tone for what will come in the years to come with big hits like The Hangover, all the Judd Apatow movies. They've been talking about doing a sequel for Wedding Crashers for a long, long time, and after a while, like I really do not want to see a sequel to Wedding Crashers. I really do not, because for one thing, it's my thing with comedy sequels. Like, you're making comedy sequels more than almost 20 years after the original film. They've been talking about doing this since 2014, and they would try. And in 2022, they officially kind of stopped the production overall, which hopefully is a good thing, because I don't think, because it's just way too late to do a Wedding Crashers sequel at this point. I mean, like I said, it's very rare you get a really good comedy sequel. Sometimes you'll get one here and there. Like we just had this year, Beverly Hills Cop Axel F, which was a movie that's coming 30 years after the last Beverly Hills Cop movie, shat the bed. But this is a film this movie is really, really funny. It's a really good film. If they had taken that third act breakup part out of the movie or at least trim it down much more than they did, I would say that this is a really good movie, a really great film overall. But as it is, it is a really good movie. It's a lot of fun, great actors all around, very funny stuff in it. Just a fun, raunchy comedy, and one that really helps to rejuvenate the raunchy comedy as a whole. If you haven't seen it and you like raunchy comedies of the olden days, Wedding Crashers definitely is one you should see. And so with that said, we wrap up another edition of Time About the Movies. And the next time we meet, we'll take a look at 4 more movies, and a pretty good weekend of movies that sadly did not get the appreciation that they deserve. We have Michael Bay's The Island with Ewan McGregor and Scarlett Johansson. Richard Linklater's remake of Bad News Bears with Billy Bob Thornton and Greg Kinnear. Hustle and Flow, which went on to win an Oscar. We'll talk about that one, with directed by Craig Brewer and starring Terrence Howard among the cast. And Rob Zombie's The Devil's Rejects. So we got 4 really good movies to talk about. It's going to be a fun one on the next episode, so check out that one. That will be tomorrow. But until then, thank you so much for watching, and if you want to see more videos like this, please hit the playlist on the next page, check out the previous episode, and please also don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, and notification button. We are about 20 away from 4,000, and like I've said the last couple of days, the sooner you get me to 4,000, the sooner I can stop giving you that intro in the beginning, and I won't bother you again until we hit 5,000 subscribers, and I need your help there again, so like I said, please hit the like button, subscribe, and get the notification so you can know when videos come out here, because we post here every day. So with that said, I am off. I will see you guys next time, and until then, as always, take care.